Welcome to Venus Alchemy's Underworld Encounter with the Dark Goddess with myself, Tami Brunk, and Cayelin Castell. We're always just awed by this moment of the journey where we've done so much powerful work already, healing and clearing through each of the chakras, and now we're poised at the underworld. So here we are.
Yes. And so this is really where we're at the heart of great mystery. And the reason that we say that is because when Venus is disappearing from the underworld, or from the morning sky, going into the underworld, this is how the ancients looked at it. They saw it as at the time when she was in the underworld. She's literally traveling with the sun. So she's with the heart of great mystery. If we think of the sun as being the most powerful symbol of great mystery that we have on the planet Earth, that we can, it's the one thing we can't look at for very long, unless you're sun gazing early in the morning, which we'll be talking about later. Then, it's like this is where she really has the opportunity for the deepest purification and burning away of all that is in need of release and transformation. Wahoo.
Mm-hmm. Wow, so powerful. So in Inanna's descent, as a death rebirth journey, from the Venus descent to the underworld, the perspective from the mythic Inanna Ishtar journey is that it's a powerful death and rebirth initiation. So in this phase of the journey, Inanna has reached the land of the dead, and she courageously chooses to go where she will die while still alive. And so she again makes this choice as the powerful goddess that she is. So the Venus cycle describes the rhythm of life, death, and life.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about the life, death, life process, but this is also where she encounters her sister, Ereshkigal, or Ereshkigal, depending on how you like to pronounce that. And there's a lot of other dark goddesses that we've had through different mythic stories, including Persephone, Kali, Lilith, Durga, Hecate, Cerridwen, Lilith. Oh, Lilith's in there twice. Pele, Morgana, Medusa, Aaronrod, Inanna, Tiamat, Sekhmet, Nekhbet. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so many of them. And so this is, these goddesses are often terrifying. Their imagery, and if we look at Medusa with the snakes in her hair, I mean, that's pretty terrifying.
Yeah.
It can shake us to our core.
Yes.
So, that's really what it's meant to be: fierce, disturbing, awe-inspiring. The dark goddess is holding the mysteries of death and dying, sex and sovereignty, suffering and shadow, all essential components within the mysteries of magic and transformation. So it's a powerful opportunity when we reach the underworld phase of the journey. One of my favorite phases, actually,
Yes, I'm a Scorpio ascendant.
I guess so. That's true.
I hear you, and I have Mars in Scorpio, and I always get excited at this point in the journey. It's just like there's something so powerful, kind of like that season for those of us who enjoy fall and winter. There's just that kind of anticipation of the magic of this time. So one of the stories that Cayelin had brought forward, and that I think I'd also, and many of us have really loved, is the Lady Death or Skeleton Woman story in Clarissa Pinkola Estes' Women Who Run with the Wolves. And so in that story, you can also look at the dark goddess as our inner authority that knows how to dance in the realms of life, death, life, or the cycles of endings and beginnings. She knows for a new ecstatic life to begin, the old must die. And in this story, it's a really poignant, beautiful story, if you have a chance to read it, about the rhythm of that. And embracing the mysteries of life is key to our liberation. We're taught to fear death and change, to see it as a failure or a punishment rather than a gift. And so there's so much about the dark goddess teaching us that authentic aliveness comes from knowing the experience of death is a necessary step to greater life.
So cool. So true. So one of the things I love about this image is it's showing that process of death and then being, animated. So that life, death, life cycle, this is what Clarissa talks about, is a cycle of animation, development, decline, and death, always followed by reanimation. So this cycle affects all physical life and all facets of our psychological life as well. And then everything the sun, novas, the moon, as well as the affairs of humans and those of the tiniest creatures like cells and atoms, has this fluttering, then faltering, then fluttering again. So everything that is alive has this experience. And the instinctual nature has the miraculous ability to live through all positive boon, all negative consequence, and still maintain relationship to self and to another. So pretty powerful.
Love that.
I know.
I love the image. I love that. So returning to the Inanna story, when Inanna fails to return from the underworld, Ninshabar, her faithful servant, which also is Mercury, asks for help. And finally, the god Enki, who has the power to create, this is I think one of the best parts of the story, where he takes the dirt from under his fingernails, which represents the earth, and he makes this Kurgara and Galatur, these two little asexual beings. They're instinctual, they're empathic, there's no ego at all, they're just very humble, and they can get to the underworld without having to go through the gatekeeper or anything else, because they're so small, they're so humble. They're the part of ourselves that when we go into an experience from heart without ego, we can go where we could not go otherwise. And so they're asked to mirror the dark goddess's pain and other feelings back to her. So this is what they actually do. They find Ereshkigal moaning and lamenting, grieving and anguished. And these are necessary steps to rebirthing and freeing herself from the powerful, deep wounds accumulated in many life experiences of rejection, betrayal, and abandonment. And in the story, she's moaning about her insides, and then she moans about her outsides. And then she realizes that as much as she wanted Inanna to die, Ereshkigal is Inanna as much as Inanna is Ereshkigal.
And that is a realization that Inanna is having also.
Yes.
That, she's the dark goddess as much as Ereshkigal is. So, yeah. And then, what's interesting, I think, is this, when we can grieve together, and there's many cultures that have ways of grieving together, and it's about connecting with that pain and having it reflected back, and that is also about showing concern and affirming her in her suffering. And I imagine that she's like, whoa, nobody's ever done that before. Right. There's like, yes, you're queen in the underworld, suck it up, and just deal with it,
Right.
And so Enki is wise to know that authentic crankiness and complaining is just one of the voices, one of the avenues of expression that are necessary and valid for the dark goddess to find healing and wholeness. Mm-hmm. So it's okay for us to be cranky. And to, we'll share a little bit more about that as we go along, some ways we can do that.
Right.
And it's the opposite of the culture that says complaining is weak and ineffective. Mm-hmm. So naming and feeling our pain, as Ereshkigal does, it's like then we can accept it without judging it. Mm-hmm. And it's like there's something very magical about being able to do that. And embracing suffering is a sacred act that leads to transformation. And when we can remember that, wow.
Absolutely.
What can we heal? Oh my gosh.
Yes. And I want to go back to that for a moment, because I think that, I can say there's some people, that are very curmudgeonly and they're kind of complainers, and, they live a long time sometimes, and it goes counter to what the culture says. Because from the time we're little, we're told, smile at the strangers and be nice and be positive and don't complain and don't take up space. And how much energy does it take to do that? It's not that it's good to be chronically depressed or complaining, or, that's not healthy either.
Right.
But I know when I watched my dad, when he was in the process of dying, and I learned this about many cancer patients, many people who were, who are on the path of healing also. It's so essential for their health, for their well-being on that path, to be able to complain. And I saw that with my dad. He was vulnerable and he was authentic. When he was in pain, he told us about it. When he felt angry, he told us about it. And I felt like my dad had always been a little quieter about those things. And I got to know him in a way that I had not known him before. He was vulnerable, he was real, and he did not heal but his spirit, I think, was healing in the process of actually claiming his experience.
Beautiful.
That's powerful, something to remember for those of us who are drawn to the spiritual path.
Right.
So, and Ereshkigal is so touched by having her pain witnessed, back to the story, with compassion, that she offers gifts of fertility and growth to the Kurgara and the Galatur. And they don't want any of those things. So finally she asks what gift they would like, and they ask for Inanna. So in essence, they're asking Ereshkigal to release her personal anguish, fury, and wrath that is embodied in her feelings toward Inanna. And so Ereshkigal releases Inanna, and she releases her pain, and she realizes Inanna is a part of her, just as she is a part of Inanna. And with that integration and that recognition, the Kurgara and Galatur sprinkle the waters and foods of life on Inanna's corpse, and they help Inanna to be reborn.
Love that. Yes. Yeah. So, so in this process, in this underworld time, where it's a good time to be lamenting, keening, grieving, yelling and screaming, not at anybody. So we need to be responsible about how we do this part of it. It's not about going and, unloading on somebody, because that's really not very responsible. But it is about finding ways for us to express it that allow us to release it from us. And we can really work with owl medicine and the wisdom of the grandmothers and all our ancestors to help with us and to help tap into the deep wisdom of our feminine soul as we navigate the dark. Owls and other creatures of the night can be helpful with that. And then remembering everything we do in this journey of descent, death, and ascent serves the greater collective. So, we're in service to the earth and all the past and future generations, and the grandmothers are here to help us with that. They're here to guide, to support, to love us no matter what, even when we're feeling ugly and or cranky or whatever that might look like.
Right. So absolutely. So practices to support us in the underworld journey, as we've learned a little bit more about the deeper way of looking at that in the Inanna story, for us as we continue on the path, we may wish to use breath work. Tantric, shamanic, pranic breath work are all ways we can move the energy that we experience and that we accumulate that needs to be let go at this time. Physical movement like ecstatic, African, or other dance, rigorous hikes, running, sexual intercourse, biking, horseback riding. Again, there's this way that we accumulate energy. We accumulate old, stuck, dense energy over time. And when we're in the underworld, part of the surrender process is actional. It's actually to choose practices to actively release that energy. Wearing black, working with underworld gems and crystals, obsidian, onyx, black tourmaline, hematite, smoky quartz, kind of like what we talk about. So some of it is similar to the root chakra. Herbs, foods, practices to cleanse and support the liver, anger and toxic emotions, so that we can heal and release those things and not do too much, hopefully not do any damage to anyone around us. Kidney, right? Kidney, lungs, which deal with fear, and then grief and sorrow. We can work with herbs for the liver like milk thistle and turmeric. Kidneys, uva ursi, marshmallow root, dandelion for the lungs, osha, cannabis, eucalyptus, yerba mansa. So all of these different kinds of herbs can support us in doing a deep, deep healing at the underworld.
Yes. And we want to use all the tools that are going to help us.
Yeah.
So working with sun and light is something else we can do. And remember, Venus is with the sun. So this makes perfect sense to work with the sun during the underworld time, doing sun salutations, doing sun gazing, doing light therapy. Sometimes you can do laser therapies or different kinds of light therapies, and also bringing in the light in your meditations, actually consciously filling your body with light. But so just a little bit about the sun gazing practice, and that is, it's really important to time it correctly.
Yes.
Yes. Because, and I've noticed this, it's like, if I look at the sun as the sun is rising or just after it's risen, I can look at it and it doesn't really hurt my eyes. And I've gotten up to the 15-minute thing. So it's basically you're going to look at the sun for 10 seconds. And then the next day you'll look at it for 20 seconds. And then you're going to add 10 seconds every succeeding day. And it's also okay to blink. You don't have to try to keep your eyes completely open during this. And there's actually a book that was written by Andreas Moritz called The Healing Benefits of Sunlight or something like that. And he talks about this practice, and he says that, when you can get up to about 15 minutes a day, then you're going to have a lot of benefits, including the activation and charging of the hypothalamus as sunlight enters the eyes, and then supporting all the body functions, the immune system, reducing mental tension and worries. So sun gazing is a great way to work with this. Now, I realize we're in more of a winter time for most people. So it might not be so easy to go out and gaze at the sun. But if you can find a way to bundle up and you have clear, the sun is clear on the horizon, highly recommend it. It's just like attuning to the light and allowing the light to fuse you.
Oh, just to go back for a minute too, though, it feels really important because we're just briefly touching on this. And we will have, when you look at the links and the resources that in the larger class we'll give more resources. But I'll just say too that for me, it is very, very important to not skip a bunch of days and then go and do a lot more minutes. It is very important to do a little bit more of your research. This is just touching on it. Because I know for me and for others, if you have blue eyes and blonde hair, for example, you may actually do 5 seconds a day. That's one of the things I've seen that makes sense to me instead of 10 seconds. You have a little bit like more sensitive eyes. And so, we really recommend that you do your own research into the best way to do it. But like Caylin's saying, it might be cold now. But when you listen to this video, if it is a season or if you live in a place where you can be barefoot when you do it, that's one of many other layers of the practice that you can integrate. And as you do a little more research and connect into our links, it'll give you all the tools you need to really do this practice.
Beautiful. Excellent.
So sunlight increases nitric oxide. That's another really powerful aspect of this. And dermatologist Richard Weller talks about the importance of sunlight in a TED Talk as a way to get nitric oxide.
And we'll give you the link to that talks, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So you'll have that too. So new research by his team shows that nitric oxide, it's a chemical transmitter stored in huge reserves in the skin, that they are released by UV light to great benefit for blood pressure and the cardiovascular system.
And so nitric oxide actually is a gas that's in our body. It's a molecule, a gaseous molecule. And so when we do certain kinds of activities, sun gazing will release nitric oxide. Pleasurable activities, there's lots of different ways we can increase our nitric oxide. I think we talked about this in the last, that the root chakra gate. But it helps our memory and our behavior. It assists the immune system. It defends against tumors. It regulates blood pressure. It reduces inflammation, improves our quality of sleep, increases endurance and strength, assists in gastric motility. So this is something that we really want to energize. And, along with sunlight, along with being out in the, even if you're not sun gazing, just getting sunlight on your skin can activate nitric oxide. But also eating plant foods, leafy greens and beets can help release nitric oxide, as well as exercise, releasing nitric oxide in the body.
Absolutely.
And then these are some of all of the effects we just kind of mentioned about, what nitric oxide can do for us, and in terms of how it helps us to be healthier and more alive and more energized when we have a good balance of nitric oxide in our physiology. Interesting, like offsets damage from tobacco use. So if anybody out there has ever smoked, something I never did, but I got a lot of secondhand smoke as a kid growing up, which is why I never smoked, because I hated it. But it's good to know. It's like, oh, you can, this can help with that. Anti-aging, enhancing memory, helps with reversing kidney disease, all kinds of great things that it just, anything with preventing diabetic complications, especially if we're doing our, eating well, having a good diet, that helps boost nitric oxide, as well as sun gazing and exercise and so on. So
absolutely. So yeah, so much can come from that. We also, there's just so much, and Cayelin and I both, I think in our own ways, encountered shaking as such a powerful practice in the underworld and leading up to the underworld for healing and clearing. And, you could ask, why shake? Because it frees energy or life force. Again, there's something about kind of in the underworld, it's not just this passive, like be in a cocoon and don't move your body. It's actually kind of, yes, there will be some of that. And also, shaking movement, clearing fear and trauma, building lasting strength, accessing a freer mind, reclaiming our wild, ecstatic nature, developing body and energy literacy, learning to let go, learning to receive, learning to follow, connecting with all of life. Again, this has to do with letting it go, shaking it off, getting it out of there, moving the energy, everything that's been stuck, just let it go. So
beautiful.
Structures of the mind release, the reservoir of habits dissolves, in an instant, lifetimes of patterns vanish. I love that.
I do too. And I just want to say that I do practice shaking quite a lot. And I love the rush of life force energy I feel through my body when I've done some shaking. It is ecstatic. So I highly recommend it.
Absolutely.
Really. Yeah.
And this is one that actually, this is a specific pattern that a woman that I love that I've worked with, Rochelle Sheik, that she, in her Koya work, she has a video that we'll share in the resources also. And you turn on ecstatic music. This is just one way to do it. Trance, fast drumming, etc. Shake every body part for a total of 5 to 10 minutes. So you can start with the right leg, left leg, both legs, fast feet like a football player. Lie on your back and shake both feet in the air. Stand and shake your hips side to side, wagging tail like a happy puppy. Belly shake, torso. So just the whole body, your shoulders, shoulder shimmy, back and forth, arm shake, hand shake, finger shake, and then the whole head and neck. And then you would always end with a full body shake. So that's one process of many, but it's fun. The video is fun. I recommend it. It's very quick. I often use it.
Yes, and I will just say sometimes what I do when I'm laying in bed before I get up in the morning is I just lay on my back and shake, like move my whole body, and it will activate that life force. Yes. And I will feel into anything I need to release and let go, any trauma, any, whatever might be coming up for me, any feelings that are like not so great, but also it helps you to activate, the feel good feelings as well. So it's absolutely really powerful. Yeah.
What I love the quote actually.
Oh yeah.
In there, which is, wild woman, wild man, you were not meant to be tame. You are an earthquake, shaking loose everything that is not soul. Shake, woman, shake. Shake, man, shake.
Shake it up, baby.
Awesome.
Right. And so Vicki Noble has this book. It's called Shakti Woman, Feeling Our Fire, Healing Our World, The New Female Shamanism. And she talks about several different aspects. And one of them she talks about that I really love is that we really need to have an attunement to the stars, the moon, the seasons, the timings, and, working ceremonially and connecting with that. She talks about dreaming. And so this is what we wanted to bring in here, is that, this is what she says in the book: in the ancient world, dreaming was sacred, providing an opportunity to touch the spirit world and obtain advice, direction, and healing. Part of any shamanic awakening must include an opening of the dream channels and the uprushing of amazing and illuminated material from the unconscious. And of course, in the underworld, we want to do that. So this is, if you haven't done any dream practices before, now is the time to start. Deepening awareness of your dreams assists the healing process, bringing you into direct contact with the inner planes. Something usually stimulate such an awakening, a cleansing of some kind, a period of retreat, a healing process. Whatever is blocking the dream process or the process of remembering must be removed so the dreaming can guide us.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that Tammy's going to share more with us about how to do that.
Yeah, so definitely, Shakti Woman, just if we haven't already talked about it in other videos, it's something that Cayelin, you turned me on to, but I was just reading it again too, and I'm so blown away by that book. It's just like
Yeah.
a manual for living.
Oh, it's so okay. Yeah, it's
So
so
good.
powerful.
Um, but practicing dream incubation, in my work with Robert Moss over the years as one of his teachers, I've really loved this practice so much, which is to create a clear request for guidance before going to sleep and to make a habit of this, to do it regularly. Write down that intent. Set the strong intention that you will remember your dream. And I would add to that something that I've come from, that I've eventually seen is it may be that you remember a specific dream. It may also be instead that you have a feeling when you wake up, or you might have a voice in your head or a message that comes clear. There might be a fragment, a fleeting image. Again, it might be the first thoughts. But you set the intention that you get some form of energetic or clear guidance or dreaming. And you might ask, for example, I ask the dark goddess to provide me with a dream image or energy to help me release attachment to others' opinions. And then you place something to write your dream, or what you remember of your dream nearby. So have your journal there. Or maybe if you record on your phone, however you do that, recorder, even a fragment or a phrase or a feeling can be powerful. You can work a lot with that. So the connection might not be easy to make, and don't worry about that. Just work with it. Be willing to work with what comes. And then give the dream or the feeling or the fragment, whatever it is, give it a title. And these next pieces are the lightning dream work process, basically, that Robert Moss uses. So this is, optional, but you might give it a title. Think about how you feel when you wake up, when you remember the dream or the fragment. See how it relates to the rest of your life. Take action to deepen the dream. You might draw it. You might paint it. You might write a poem or story. If you've been given a message, you might act on that message. You might even go back and re-enter the fragment, the image, the dream, to get more information. And you then might want to create a mantra to capture the positive energy or message of the dream. And so just, really do some deeper work with that and take the time in the underworld journey to a little extra time to work with your dreams like this.
It's such a powerful practice.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So underworld morning practice, and really everything that we suggest, it's like just keeping it simple. Don't make it too complicated.
Yes.
But if you're feeling feelings when you wake up? Pay attention. Like, are you anxious? Are you panicked? Are you scared? Are you mad? Are you angry? Are you overwhelmed? And if you're feeling happy or joyful, you can also go with that. It doesn't have to be what we consider the more quote unquote negative feelings, but those feelings and how we're feeling when we wake up is a message for us. So paying attention to that. You might, wonder if something or someone is irritating you, like politics. I know I can get pretty irritated. Work, I can get irritated by that sometimes too, family. And if you're not, or friends or people that you're having interaction with, whatever that might be, if you're not sure what feelings to be with, ask your body what feelings are wanting to be felt or are ready to arise from deep within. And you might notice that you're remembering a recent painful incident or one from long ago, or maybe you're remembering a recent one that connects to one from long ago, and that it's an opportunity. And that might be something you want to shake on, or just allow yourself to feel more deeply in some way that works for you.
That's powerful. And I love when you say keep it simple too. I just want to say the first conscious time I went through the Venus journey, I tried to do all of these different practices, and I made it into my homework. It was like part of my to-do list almost, because I do that. And looking back, it was just like, you know what? You didn't have to do everything. So I'll just say simple's good.
Simple's good.
Yeah.
And being willing and allowing the process to inform you as you go, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I think, what Cayelin began to talk about, and we go into more deeply here, is this in and of itself. If you just did this would be a powerful practice for you for the underworld. So if you have time, again, when you wake up, to rock or shake your body while still lying in bed, you might even let yourself moan, cry, scream, sigh. with the intent to feel what you feel for as long as needed or for as long as you have time. Of course, if you share a bed with someone else, sometimes that can be a little tricky. So you might need for yourself to have another room you can go into to do these things while you're still like a little bit in that zone. You might, once you notice the feeling is lessened or vanished altogether, you could send love and light to the person or situation and include yourself in that as you work through these feelings. And there are many layers to grief and pain, so revisit or check in each morning, allowing whatever feelings are there to emerge, if they're there. And you know what? You might ask what the feeling is, and one morning you might have joy. One morning you might have ecstasy. So, it's not like we're in the underworld, everything is hard. No. In fact, you might have very little of that. Let it be your experience. But
right. You might feel liberated and released from a lot of the feelings you've had before because you've been working with them and allowing them to go. So you might find that you feel that.
Yeah, exactly.
Celebrate that.
Yeah. So it's just like whatever's authentically there, play with that. Let that release, let it go. And when the feelings have eased, ask the part of you that knows via meditation or journaling. This is kind of an extra thing. What are the best activities and actions to take care of yourself for now? And again, you may not do that. You may just keep it simple and just check into the feelings. But what your body wants, and also what your body wants may change from day to day. So, maybe take that deeper practice and maybe just let it be enough to feel it, to shake with it, to acknowledge it.
Beautiful.
So, and then I love this, what ugly feelings do you shut down? If I feel, show anger or rage, I will be abandoned, not loved, harmed. I love these baby faces. So this can be a time where those feelings might come up. If I feel, show fear, I will lose face. If I feel, show sadness, I'll lose control and I won't be able to hold it together. If I ever feel, show negativity, I'll never reach my dreams, or no one will love me or want to be with me. Because I must be positive and happy all the time to be liked and lovable. If I feel, show irritation, no one will like me or love me. If I feel, show hurt, I will look weak. And then, that's different for all of us. What feelings are off limits for you? Because I know sadness is one I'm fairly comfortable with. Fear, okay, I'm not ashamed to feel fear. Anger or rage, that is so hard for me, to actually feel it. So anyway.
Yeah, and not just try to dump it on somebody.
Well, yeah. Well, right. Unconsciously. Right, exactly.
Yes. So it is about feeling it and not expressing it necessarily. I mean, you can do these things where where you might just say, I'm just really having a terrible day. Mm-hmm. And just be honest and authentic and real about it. And yet, not make it be about anybody, but let it be what it is for you. It's like having that radical self-responsibility,
mm-hmm.
That it's not about anybody. If you're feeling it, it's not about anybody but you.
Yeah. And then it's okay. It's okay to feel it because it's a human feeling and emotion.
Absolutely.
And yeah. So
this one's one you came up with, I think, Tami.
I know it is. And I think in the last one too, the baby faces were because I realized for some of us, and I found this when I was working with a lot of charts of people like myself who have a lot of fire and air and not a lot of water, that it can be useful to go back to thinking about the books that we have for babies that'll show the baby a face. This is sad baby. This is happy baby. This is frustrated. Teach babies what the emotions are. And I think some of us also might have missed those things. So it can be useful just to get that basic and elemental, to name it. So, but this song, I thought it was so fun when we were exploring this. My partner at the time shared this song with me, and I didn't know it, but I get mad, I get mad, I get mad. I think it was like a electric company or some kind of a public broadcast program where they had this little goat and he gets mad. And it's a funny little song. And then we have a link to the song as well, because I just think it's so funny. It's not bad. It ain't bad to get mad. So,
right. I think that's awesome that they show that's something that's available to kids. And for those of us who were kids it was not okay to be mad.
Exactly. It makes it funny.
So helpful. Right. I'm mad and that's not bad.
Right. It's okay.
So that's just the reminder then that, you know, being a spiritual person doesn't mean you're always positive. It means that you have awareness to tell people to get the fuck out of your face while you're balancing these energies, right?
Yeah, I'm sure, Cayelin, you would ever really do that.
I pretty much never, but you know, I think I have done that a couple of times, but not very often. And then this is an article that I came across, I don't know, probably when we started the first Venus cycle. And I loved it so much, and everybody loved it so much. So I think there'll be a link to it where you can see the whole entire article. But basically, this guy started to realize that, you know, that sometimes people were just trying to be nice about everything. And he's like, I think you just should say fuck and then say whatever you're mad at. So like, he had this experience of, you know, fuck Best Buy and their store hours making me come back today after wasting an hour there trying to buy a fucking iPhone. And then, you know, so it goes on and on and on. But my favorite one, because his girlfriend was doing this with him, and then she started to say, I'm grateful for, after she had said, you know, expressed whatever she was mad about. And he's like, nope, wrong game. And then he said in response to her, fuck you, spiritual people, for using gratitude as a bypass to your anger. And I just think in the underworld, it's a really, you know, it's like Ereshkigal isn't, you know, holding back. She's just saying, there's nobody around. I mean, until the Kugara and the Galatur show up, right? But
Right.
she's just saying what she's feeling, like, you know, this sucks. I hate it. I'm mad. Anana gets to be queen of heaven, and I'm stuck here in the stupid underworld.
Right.
It's so unfair, you know. And she might be saying, you know, fuck this. I hate it. So it might be good to play this game. You could do it with yourself, or you could do it with somebody. You don't have to, but just something.
And I think when you're saying it too, when you bring it back to Ereshkigal, basically what we're wanting to do through this practice and feeling our feelings in the morning, whatever that is, it's to be the Kurgara and the Galatur, to actually have that role consciously, where when we see ourselves feeling these things and, you know, saying fuck this, fuck that, and just like letting ourselves go there, that we hold a loving presence for ourselves and say, yeah, it's okay. You can feel that way. You can let that out. You can let that go. You've been holding on to that. So let it out, you know, let it out, let it go. It's time.
Right. And it doesn't mean you go to somebody and tell them, fuck you, I hate you.
Yeah.
You're the reason for all my problems in life, or whatever. It's not about that. It's about really taking ownership of what you're feeling and whatever it is that's triggering that for you.
Mm-hmm.
And it might be a person, but you don't say it to the person. It's not about saying it to the person. Yeah. About you.
Right.
And if you think a loving God would let a person burn in hell, your idea of love is fucked up.
Yeah, I love that. It's kind of a little bit random, like having this in here, but it's kind of the ultimate extreme of, and it brings it all together. That image is so disturbing.
It is so disturbing. Let's move on.
Okay. So, right. So some of the questions we might navigate over the course of this period. And again, like always, you might choose to work with one a week or every couple weeks, because of course the underworld is a longer journey. You might just take one and have that be kind of your meditation, whatever has energy for you, or even find your own. What is your own underlying question or inquiry that you want to tune into? So, but these are, what is my deepest fear, and what will it take for me to face and embrace it? What blocks remain from my descent that I am ready to fully release to the dark goddess? What would it take for me to trust the underworld initiation is taking me where I need to go and empowering me in the process? And then I love that one so much.
Yeah.
You know, like whatever's going on, that this is exactly what needs to happen.
It's hard to trust when we're in pain or, you know, going through a challenging time. It's hard to trust that somehow this is a good thing, and on the other side of it, we'll be happy for it.
Right.
It's really hard to trust that.
Well, yeah, and I think for any of us who have a lot of Saturn or Capricorn or basically from the modern culture, we also, part of this might be judging ourselves that we're doing it wrong.
Right.
So we want to let go of any of that vibration also, like, you know, just the underworld initiation is taking me where I need to go, empowering me in the process. And I'm, you know, what I'm doing in this in this journey is what is needed, and I'm doing my very best, you know. And
And I love me anyway, even if I'm being,
yeah,
bitchy and horrible.
exactly. Or feeling stuck, or
Right. Right. Or feeling like my life has no meaning and I'm worthless and whatever. Yeah.
right, whatever comes up. Or even you're in the underworld and everybody else is struggling, and you're like, you know what, this is really fun. I love it. I'm having a great time. Oh
Right.
shit, I must be doing it wrong.
Right. That is a good one.
Let's open that possibility.
Yes.
And then we might say, how has the underworld phase influenced my life and brought me to where I am today? So, yeah, how is this influencing me now? How does it bring it to where I am today? And you might broaden that to say, look at other periods of your life specifically where you've gone through an initiation that's been deeply intense and has kind of in some ways taken you apart and caused you to surrender and let go. And how has that helped you to be who you are today? And how has that deepened you and opened you up to more life and more joy and more, more of who you are?
And even if you didn't surrender and let go, but it just was completely taken away from you.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I've referred to it as my life being burned to the ground, whether I wanted it to or not.
Right.
So, and being in resistance to it the whole entire time. Right.
Right. Yeah.
And that's okay too. I mean, sometimes it's just, I think that when we can be in that place of surrender, it's less painful. And that has been my experience. But if we're, if it's challenging and you're not able to let go, it's okay too. Right?
Well, and I like that brings to mind for me is, and again, one of my favorite books on becoming an alchemist, the author talks about how you can literally choose to abet a process like this to speed it up by being in resistance. So her example was really perfect. It's like, okay, say you're going through a breakup with your boyfriend, or you're afraid he's going to leave and it's happening and you're trying to hang on. Let yourself try to hang on. Let yourself be needy. Let yourself be like so like neurotic in the process. And it's probably going to speed it all up. Like, don't try to control yourself and be perfect, because you need to just, add some fire to that, stoke it, like make it happen faster so you can get through that process, burn hotter. I think it's kind of funny because we don't think about it, but sometimes actually resistance amplifies the process.
Absolutely.
So a deeper part of ourselves might know, okay, do it big, burn it all.
Right. Oh, it's beautiful. So it's not too late. This is something that some people, I think, because life gets busy and maybe you haven't done all the things that you could do, you can review the classes and the meditations in the underworld, of all of them, whatever you want to. Again, it doesn't matter if you do that or not, but if that feels like something that would be supportive to you while you're in this underworld time, we recommend that you do that. If not, then we recommend that you don't do that, because really about how do we take care of ourselves and how do we do what's going to be most supportive. But, if you decided you wanted to go back and revisit any of the guided meditations from any of the gates that, they're short, they're like 15, 20 minutes at the most. And, especially any ones that you felt you had particular, that might be beneficial for you to go back to. And then, of course, you can revisit the recordings and the PDFs of the classes that we've done, and also now the videos that we've done. And, if you want to take time to engage any of the home play that you might have missed, listen to Tami's grandmother guide meditation and really get your grandmothers on, or your grandmother guide or guides, depending, some people have more than one, get them on board with you to help you during this time. They're wise, and they, you can talk to them and they'll be more than happy to help.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if you have a Venus buddy, take some time to check in, make some regular dates. In the underworld time, it's like 2.5 months. So we may have a class where we have just like a little check-in, but otherwise, pretty much everyone's on their own. And then, of course, you can ask for support in the Facebook group. If you haven't introduced yourself yet, you might want to do that. And if you need, if you want to feel that more, that stronger connection with community during this time. Yeah.
Or if you've introduced yourself, but you want to ask for help, ask for help,
Right.
support. I think too that the idea of revisiting the guided meditations and some of these other things, I love that idea. I remember when I first realized, it's like, you've got 2.5 months or 2 months, whatever the underworld process is this time, to really be able to go through it. So I've done that before and started with the crown chakra and just gone through, 20 minutes a night and do the guided meditations and let myself feel that deeper falling away of whatever did not fall away.
Right.
So it's kind of a spaciousness that's pretty awesome.
Beautiful.
So yes, so now in home play, you may do those things. You may catch up in some ways. You might also listen to my Tuning into Your Chakras guided meditation. Again, we recommend that if you're able to do this before, when we first start the journey, and kind of see what's going on with your chakras and what kind of guides and allies you meet there, what condition they're in, if there are any blocks. And then that you can create a chakra totem pole as you do this. So the way it works is I give you a little time at each chakra gate to kind of track, to sketch the image or the messages that come through. And then you can take a little more time and create an image of yourself with your chakras, with the different animals, guides, landscapes at each one. So you could do that, or just listen to it and see what shows up. And that's about 40 minutes, I think. Then there's the Underworld altar, which is really exciting. So you can clear, or you can add to, or you can update your existing altar so that it has images honoring the grandmothers, the dark goddesses that you want to work with, maybe Sekhmet. You might fill vials with food and the water of life. You might include a cauldron where you symbolically place your feelings, patterns, etc., for release through the initiation. So you might write them on pieces of paper. You might just speak them, and then just, with your hands or whatever, just like imagine yourself putting those things that you are willing to transform and let go of into the cauldron. So that's super fun. It's kind of like a Dia de los Muertos altar.
Yes.
Or Day of the Dead altar. So
right.
You might practice dream incubation during power date periods. And that's just, when we talk about what's happening over the course of this underworld period astrologically, there are certain new moons where Venus is with the sun and the moon, for example. So those can be some powerful times, or really at any point in the underworld journey, to practice setting intentions for your dream guidance. You might do Underworld Venus Dream Journal, where you restore or deepen your practice of the Venus journal, integrating images and dreams. And then you also might greet Venus and the sun at sunrise and or sunset with sun gazing or sun salutations or other practices. And I think we maybe didn't mention it before, but part of what's so powerful about sun gazing is that you can know when you look at the sun that Venus is with the sun. So you're being given a direct transmission of Venus from the underworld, the heart of great mystery.
Yes, I love that. I remember when I first had that experience, when I was doing a Venus return journaling, and I was getting up every morning and reading the sun, and I was like, wait a second, Venus is right there. I can't see her, but she's right there.
Right.
How cool is that? And just realizing that there, the sun being the source of light and life for our planet, and this energy that it's transmitting and illuminating, and whatever needs to be illuminated within our divine feminine expression. That's just so powerful. Such a powerful thing. So thank you for remembering that, Tami.
Well, and I think too, that part of what's so powerful is that some of us, we may not have always gotten to see Venus and the moon, and depending on where we live, it might be harder to. I've had a hard time where I live now sometimes seeing Venus in the sky, but the sun, we all can see the sun.
Indeed.
So
yeah,
so here we are.
And interesting, on this slide that we're seeing, that is an image of Venus. It kind of looks like an image of Earth, but it is an image of Venus with the sun.
Powerful.
So, yeah. Yay. Yay. So I think we're complete with this, and just really excited to do this underworld journey with everyone. And here's to amazing transformation for each and every one of us.
Absolutely. Deepest transformation, rebirth, and empowerment.
Woohoo. Yes.
So it is.